have to start with video generation with sound effects.
None of us is real. Stop the man who is dictating our lives through prompts.
The number of businesses that are getting kind of like evaporated. ChatGPT completely crushed it. It's literally out of control.
Oh shit, we're cooked, man.
We covered dating last week, dude. We got a lot to chat about today, man. Okay, we have to start with this video generation with sound effects. I mean, dude, I actually was watching one like 20 just before we jumped on, bro. About like the prompt. Like you're telling me that like this is just a prompt. I'm more than a prompt. You must have seen the. We'll put the link down below, dude. It is unbelievable where we're at with that now. Have you had a chance to have a good look at it?
I have, yeah. The very first one I saw was a video generation by Veo of a stand-up comic, and it said like a stand-up comic in like a small little open mic night. Include the joke in the dialogue, and then it just like made a very funny joke. And I was like, "Oh shit, we're cooked, man.
We're cooked. We are fried, man." I must admit, I didn't know much about video before this. It's like this has kind of dropped out of nowhere, right?
Yeah, I understand. I think if you zoom out a little bit, like it makes sense in context. So basically, Google was really late to all this stuff, right? But they're also like one of the biggest companies on planet Earth. So they're like a behemoth. They're like a monolith. It takes a while for them to get moving. And when they start moving, they have so much momentum and talent and obviously money behind them that like they can make extraordinary strides in what seems like a very short period of time from us. Because what we're seeing is we're thinking, oh, Google just dove into this shit like a week ago. And now all of a sudden they have this video model that's like better than everybody else's. Not a week ago, but you get my point. But what has actually been happening is basically for the better part of the last 4 years, ever since like the inklings of this consumer ChatGPT product started, circulating the rounds in San Fran and whatnot, they've been mobilizing and they've been looking at ways to like make a really high quality product as well. So I think that's all culminated with Veo and with the recent I/O conference. And yeah, man, some of the tech there is crazy.
It's ridiculous. It's also this collision course theory, bro, isn't it? Of like independently the ability to generate sound effects landed. I remember when Suno AI was out and we were like, I was making songs about my spaniels and I was like, this is great. And he got really obsessed with it, dude. And I was like, check this riff out, man. And it was cool and it could generate sound effects. It was like, all right, novel, whatever. But it's like when you get these two technologies that have been developing independently, and then you put them, stack them. All of a sudden, it's not a 1+1. It's like it becomes like a 20 type of thing. And there's just something about having the video and crisp audio, and it's not just doing it; it's doing it very well to the point where I was like, almost. I mean, I've heard the expression "Black Mirror" thrown around a little bit. I was looking at the comment section. People in my community as well were getting a bit existential about it, like almost kind of like a we prompt? What has become of us? And I was like, we're getting really philosophical on it, but it's wild. I mean, talk about B-roll, dude. I mean, like B-roll. If you're a Shutterstock, dude, if I was to see a Shutterstock, would you be under where would you be right now, Nick? Would you be in the bar? Would you be under the table? Where would you be?
I think you hit the nail on the head, man. What's crazy is these are like, they're B-roll lengths too, like 8-second clips that you can generate just nonstop. I generated a couple, man. I generated this cat that was made of like yarn, walking around and then meowing, and like it like had like the meow yarn sound effect. I don't know, like it just like pretended like the vocal cords were yarn, and I was like, that is super high quality, super incredible. Dude, you're gonna get to like make and wander into any world you want very shortly.
You pretty much could. I mean, it's also like I don't play too many video games at the moment. I mean, I do destroy 15-year-olds on Fortnite in my spare time, but the ability to actually like generate this freaking badass stuff in video games is something I'm really excited about. And also, dude, I remember like earlier YouTube days when I was using B-roll, and dude, we've all seen the same like generic B-roll in every single video ever.
Yeah,
they're fried, dude. They're absolutely fried. Same with I think. Here's the cool thing, right? The way I see it is like now we've got the tech, bro. Once you can add that intelligence into it that understands what a good edit is, that's really like it's got the capability to generate the highest quality. It just needs to know what contextually that high quality is now. That's like the next layer above what we're seeing with the generation at the moment. What's really interesting to me as well is the number of businesses that are getting kind of like evaporated. I mean, like I never heard of Chegg, but from what I understand, Chegg is like a student content generator thing, and then like ChatGPT completely crushed it. But there's so much stuff now that's getting steamrolled with his text, dude. It's literally out of control.
Yeah, it's everything's just a ChatGPT wrapper at the end of the day, huh?
It is.
Now we're talking VO here specifically, so it's more like everything's an LLM wrapper. But and damn, I guess it's not even an LLM anymore. Holy shit,
No.
am I old? This is like
You know,
a full multimodal visual and audio generator.
so okay, so where do you see what do you think then, bro? Let's think about this. Like, what are the application layer effects of this tech? Because I think these things drop, you get excited because like you're watching it, and I'm like watching it, I'm like, okay, this is actually really cool, dude. They're not letting me use it 'cause I'm in the UK. I don't know what
Oh,
we did.
seriously?
I
Oh,
don't know.
dude,
I
that
don't know
blows.
what. I don't know who we cut up in the car park. I don't know what happened, but they're like, "These UK guys, dude, you gotta wait a little while." So, dude, yeah, it's US only. You
That's
can't even
brutal.
VPN your way over there. Yeah.
Are you serious? Well, I got a US account and I'm fine, and I'm not in the US, so maybe there's something to be said about that. Maybe because I have an old ass Google Workspace account with a business that's domiciled in America, I can get by. But dude, the fact that you guys don't have access to that stuff, honestly, that's criminal, dude. Because you want to talk application layer effects. I mean, just think about like the ad marketplace. Like, dude, you could shoot stuff in VO that would have taken you and a video production suite like $10,000 and
Yeah.
3 weeks, and you can do that in 30 seconds.
30
You want to
seconds.
talk about like the explosion in the creative landscape? It's not even going to be close, dude. So think about the advantage that American companies are going to have over you guys over the course of the next like month or two, assuming that it only takes a month or two to drop. That's like it's a canyon, dude. It's a canyon.
Dude, we're just figuring out fire over here, you know, and then glad you got spaceships. I mean, like, what the hell's gonna happen? But like, it's actually you get this like it's true, but this I think in the micro is a good example of artificial intelligence inequality. And I mean, I know why they're in US only because they're just doing staggered average, right? Let's just make sure we don't blow things up.
Sure. Yeah,
But
of course.
if you do geo-lock attack, and let's be fair, like in this current political landscape, that's happening. We're even doing it at the hardware level, right? Certain countries, you're not naming any names, they just don't want to have certain access to certain things. It if we as UK companies didn't have access to that technology, it's a problem. Because we just, how can you possibly compete with that?
Yeah, definitely. It's not even close. It's not like 10% better. It's like 1,000,000% better. It's comparing apples to oranges at this point. And as you mentioned, y'all are just figuring out fire while we got them spaceships.
Did it? We're just about making fire. I mean, like I genuinely I could show that to any person who's not in AI and they would believe it was real. That's the level it's at. Like we did it with images, now we've got the video. I think it's ridiculous.
I'm happy to Prometheus you some fire.
Prometheus, if you could send me some, if you could like, if I could live vicariously through your technology, maybe like I could like, I don't know, like control your laptop and use it. That'd be great, man.
100%. Anytime,
It's the
man.
best we can hope for in the UK at the moment, man. So that's why I've got to leave, I've got to leave this beautiful country. I said, look, you're holding me back, man. I can't stay here in these conditions, man. I'm living in the Stone Age over here, so. I need
You
to
going
get out.
straight to Dubai after this?
Dude, no. So I'm gonna get to France for a couple of months. Where I don't know yet, unknown location. And then I'm gonna drive there actually from the UK. So I'm gonna.
Can you drive over the English Channel? No, I just screw
We'll
with
find out. We'll
Yeah.
find out. I think we'll go on. I'll either go on a boat or something, and we'll just like get over that, dude. So, dude, I don't know if you find this, dude. Like, it's like life admin is like. I'll just figure it out closer to the time type of thing, and then so, yeah, I'll figure out where I'm going. Like, I might just say that where's cold France, and then we just head over there. So that's the
For
plan.
sure. I'm like that too. My friends, it blows their minds because they like to have things planned out like weeks or months in advance, and I'm like, oh, I'll figure it out in 48 hours.
Yeah, like the day before we're doing it. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it'd be France. We'll see what France's AI accessibility is like. Then straight over to Dubai. The only reason I'm not hitting Dubai straight away is just because of the weather.
Too hot?
Yeah, it's insane.
Oh,
It's like,
well, I mean, but you're gonna go at like, but then if you stay for a few months, dude, you're gonna go in like the middle of the summer, aren't you?
yeah. Well, I'll get over there like September, October.
Okay, September,
It's like-
October. Yeah, that makes sense.
Like Dubai's empty during that period of time. But Dubai's making some cool AI moves as well. Actually, I don't know if you saw the thing with Trump with the whole "this is the Dubai plan for AI in the future" and stuff. It looked really interesting.
Yeah,
But
800
Europe
billion.
is lagging quite a lot. Unfortunately, we need to up our game a little bit.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I was looking at, and I don't want to turn this into a geopolitical podcast. I'm sure everybody has their own opinions on that, but I was looking at like labor productivity back in the early 2000s, and it was basically like the same across most of the Commonwealth countries. And then if you look at labor productivity now, over the course of 20 years or so, there's just this massive gulf where the U.S. productivity has just like crushed everything else. Now they've done so at a cost. The cost is their insane debt ratio. The cost is, I don't know, like wealth inequality and just quality of life and whatnot. And I think that you could probably make a case for subjective life quality being worse in many places in the United States than like the median of the EU or something. But just in terms of the labor productivity, god damn, they're hard to catch up to.
Dude, I saw this graph. I think it was 2008. Our GDP per capita was roughly equal, and then one's done this, and the other one's done this. Dude, people feel it in the UK. I remember. Do you remember it was like the end of high school? I remember it was like one British pound was worth $2. And it was like that was really cool. It's not that anymore, dude. I can say that, bro. It's not anymore. But then when you go to America, you feel like as someone from the UK, you feel the cost difference, like when you're buying stuff. Because like in the UK, like a pint, a beer, like it used to be the case, dude. Like not that long ago, and I swear this was still the case. Like 3.50 was typical. Now like £5 is the average. I don't know what it's like in the States, but like our costs have just gone freaking insane, dude. We've got like shops that are closing down. I mean, I'm not saying it's like Fallout 3 level of like
Not yet.
chaos, but like no, definitely. You kind of don't get that context until you go to a different country. That's the thing. Like if you've only ever lived in like Litchfield, for example, you've never been over to the States, to Canada, to like maybe different parts of the world. You're kind of very like insulated. All you know is the price of eggs goes up, and you're like, it doesn't really make any sense. Like you haven't really live it until you get to a different country, dude. I'm now putting up our AI, so I don't know what we're going to do. I think we need to figure out that video access first, and then crush it after that.
Yeah, they're boned. Hey, you want to chat about this Johnny Ive stuff?
Dude, yes, talk to me about that, man.
Yeah, so basically OpenAI buys Johnny Ive's team. Johnny Ive, for everybody that's listening that doesn't know, was like one of the head product designers, if not the product designer at Apple. And he had his hand in the creation of the iPhone. And so OpenAI is acquiring him and his team. And the whole idea is that pretty soon, presumably, they're going to be building some sort of hardware product. They're starting a new company, subsidiary of OpenAI, called Io. And the idea is that it's just going to be something like the Humane pin, probably. It's going to be some physical thing that you carry around, a third device in addition to your iPhone and your MacBook that will just have some native AI functionality and help you navigate the world. I've been seeing some pretty crazy screenshots of like hypothetical devices on Twitter. They are all some circular little thing that you put on the table and then like, you know, holographically comes up with your little AI assistant. But stuff like that's pretty wild.
It is well, and I just Googled Johnny Ive. And he looks like the guy that designed the iPhone. Like he's got those like LA glasses that like slick round, kind of like quite futuristic. He's got that really cool style to him. Yeah, it's like, do you know what, dude? We talk about this a lot, you and I do, but like it's like one of the most undervalued assets is taste. And this was the whole thing with like Apple. Like you have this decay. Like you can't proceduralize. Like you just need that really key design taste. And like when Steve Jobs left Apple, you did see that steady decline sometimes in some of the products. This guy, I'm excited about that. The funny thing is, like, if you're trying to, it makes sense for OpenAI to like vertically integrate to like some kind of like hardware application. I think that makes sense. Like they were competing with Anthropic, I think, for the secondary language model choice in the iPhone. I mean, what is it? Google pays Apple, is it 20 billion a year?
Something like that.
Yeah, just to be the default search engine. Apple's got monopoly. I mean, like the fact Apple's not done the inverse integrate, like they've gone that, like they should do that. I would imagine Apple should have its own AI that is, and I think it's doing that to some extent. But when I think about hardware application, that's like a new modality across which you can change the user experience. But I just don't know what it looks like. I mean, Humane got a lot of. I mean, it's actually amazing to me the story of brand, bro, and like storytelling, because the guy that launched Humane, didn't he have like some experience in a large company? Well, I don't know what it was. I think he was like a product designer. He designed Gmail. He didn't. I have to find out his background. Just
it was something like that, though. It was like some FANG, you know, massive impact.
Yeah, he was okay. Iman Chowdhury. Yeah, he'd done something in Apple. Like he was an early Apple guy, and you kind of carry over the kind of shine of the company you work for a little bit. So the expectations are up here. But I don't know if it was just the product didn't work, or it was just like you're expecting users to take a new action they don't normally take. Like nobody's really kind of going, "Hey, what do you think about that, man?" So it's like it's high risk, extremely high reward with like trying to breach that barrier of like adding a new modality. Like even when the phone came out, the concept of having a phone here as you went around was wild. Like it took decades to change people's opinions on that. It was actually crazy.
I think we're going to see a much faster shift with technologies like these just because they have been integrated into more or less everything else that we're doing. You know, these smart, flexible models for tiny things, even just, I don't know, searching through your Gmail inbox with Gemini or something. But yeah, I do also wonder what it would look like. It would have to have some sort of massive advantage relative to the phone, because the phone is a hardware product, right?
Yeah.
And it does a lot of stuff on device now. So I don't think any of these guys are stupid. I don't think the creators of the Humane pin were stupid. I think they were touching on something. I think the reality is when that tech came out, I guess a year ago now or so, it was just making an API call to the ChatGPT backend, and that API call just took a really long time, and it just wasn't smooth, and it just wasn't very good. I feel like if it was perfect, maybe things would be a little bit different, but it wasn't.
Do you think
So
it
these
was
guys?
No, you go
Yeah.
ahead. I mean, do you think it was a usability problem, or was it just a everything's a chat like that Scooby Doo? What is it? Oh, it's ChatGPT again. Like, or was it like people didn't want to do the whole touching the button thing? They didn't want to wear.
I think. I mean, it's Remember the Google glasses from way back in the day? This is going to age us.
Oh, dude, I remember it pipping off. I remember.
Yeah. The whole idea of you just having like a camera that was always on connected to your glasses was just like kind of weird, I think, to a lot of people at the time. And so I think there's like cultural consciousness wise, I don't really think we were there. Obviously, the product itself was kind of janky too. But now we're seeing all of these labs like move in that direction, right? Like Google's going to relaunch their glasses. I mean, like, Meta launched their little Ray-Bans with the camera and stuff, because people on net are just a lot more comfortable being filmed. We've just sort of all like accepted to some degree that that's going to happen. So I feel like with the Humane pin, I don't think it was like, I think a small part of that was it was like the cultural acceptance of like wearing something that's always recording and always listening and always doing that stuff. It was probably also the whole like, do you really hey, what do you think about that? Or like, hey, I want you to remember this. Or But I honestly, I think the big issue is just like the usability. Like I saw demos of this thing. I saw demos of like Little Rabbit thing as well, and like all the other hardware products. And it's just like, hey, take what's in my fridge and give me a recipe. And then it would just be like, okay. Sure, right? And then it's like, all right,
Hey,
do I
Nick,
really want to
you're
wait
low on
10
milk.
seconds?
You're like in a meeting. You're all I want milk. Like, yeah, I order milk. Like, it's just like,
I know. I could see the fucking fridge.
dude, every company's trying to shove AI into everything these days. Like Samsung,
Yeah.
I think they made an AI fridge, and it was like, yeah, we're gonna tell you the level of the milk. We're gonna tell you how fresh it is, and it's like, you can't over-engineer things, right? Like, and I think I don't need to know how many apples I have left. I don't need that notification. The thing is, if you're gonna move people away from the phone, it needs to be an order of magnitude better. It needs to be a 1 to 10, a 0 to 1 type of benefit. It can't just be kind of better. I think, and I'd also say, like, like, watches are pretty much redundant now, aren't they, to be fair?
Yeah.
If you really think about it. They've become a style piece. So I actually think one of the routes into this is, like, fashion.
Really?
Not trying to recreate fashion, but, like, okay, so for example, I take the watch, but I wouldn't make it a watch. I'd maybe like, people are comfortable wearing a band on their wrist, right?
Yeah.
Not everyone's comfortable with glasses. So like there is an inbuilt motion of doing something like this. So I think you almost it has to be something on the wrist as a step one, and you can slowly like work your way up. So I think having a phone out here and you could press something and it holographified some stuff. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
But I think
that's their whole
idea.
idea. Yeah. Sorry for cutting you off. I think that's the whole idea. Like they just want to move away from the screen as just like the default mode for everything, which is terrible, by the way. Like screens suck. I hate looking at screens all day. I look at them like fucking 10 hours a day at least, and then I relax by scrolling through them for another hour, and I watch some TV show for another hour. Like they're not good for us. But I bet you it's just some sort of like fundamentally different thing. Like, you guys remember what the Humane pen was trying to do, or maybe it was the rabbit or something. It was trying to project something, where like you put your hand up and then it like projected the time or whatnot, or a little UX, something like that. I think is actually much cooler. Obviously that's a little artificial because now you're holding up your hand or whatnot. But imagine if you just didn't need to do that and you could still see in front of you, you had like depth of field. I don't know if there's any research into that, but that'd be sick.
What about if it isn't wearable at all? Remember like Beyblades where you'd like grab it and you'd like
and
they'd battle each other and stuff? Maybe it's that. Maybe it's like it's something that you carry that has like some kind of nice kinetic feel to it, and you just plop down where you are. And
AI Beyblade, Dragoon.
Yeah, and then they could almost battle each other, and fight for, and then whoever loses, basically you win that technology. You take it
like Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Dude, their IQ, yeah, you win their strongest model, like they're kind of, or their IQ gets like 10 points more stupid or something like.
I would be so game for that world, man. That sounds awesome.
I think that's sick, but I can see it's something. If I could just pop something down, and it itself, because then it doesn't have to be what it could like populate and just show me like a screen or something digital, or like that Obi-Wan Kenobi thing where like he's moving around and maybe he's chilling out, he's like, I don't know, washing his hair. He could be doing many things. So It's a new frontier, and you need to be bold. The most obvious frontier, I don't know if you've seen the largest AI newsletter. One thing I noticed when I was fishing around, having a look at some stuff, was that I think they've launched a robotics one, which I thought was really interesting, and I was surprised, to be honest with you, because I didn't really think that the appetite was that high for robotics news. Apparently, it is. That is a frontier that's advancing. So there's probably an argument to say, actually, we talk about the voice, we talk about the thinking. Having robots is probably the next big hardware revolution in terms of like things that you buy, like we were touching on before.
Yeah, like a humanoid Optimus style thing.
Yeah, either that. I mean, like, you've got to get. The problem is, like, it doesn't matter how good your technology is. You have to get the design thing correct, and people will give it a shot anyway, right? Your early adopters are going to give it a gamble, but the amount of product testing you've got to do to really crush it, I think, is interesting. But as an OpenAI's direction, right? Where do they make most of their money? It's probably B2B. It's probably their business things from their enterprise value. It's probably not so much consumers.
And I feel like if the whole idea is just to get to AGI before somebody, like they don't actually care as much, to be honest. Like they're happy just like operating off of text if they think that text is sufficient. Like they don't actually need to go into the hardware space, Like if they do any of that, it won't be like their core thing. It'll just be like some offshoot of the core thing that they just do to like sustain themselves or grow. Because I think that's what everybody's trying to do. They're just trying to get to like, hey, how do we get like the best text model that can recursively improve itself? And then like we'll ask it in a year how to make us the best Optimus robot,
That's a bold bet, right? But I mean, like, I think Sam was asked before, why don't you just do a search engine?
Yeah.
And he said, we could. I just think it's like a low leverage opportunity for us. Like, that's also the thing, right? You're almost like stepping over so many cool things you could do in favor
tech
of
tree?
doing
Yeah.
one of the biggest. Like, okay, well, this is a good question, right? Like, what is the highest leverage thing you could do if you're OpenAI?
Yeah, it's just invest aggressively into like text models. Honestly, I mean, like text is still it's like a way to model the world, right? And it's probably like one of the simplest ways to model our intelligence because there's just so much of that data out there. And so it's just training aggressively on text nonstop until you get to some sort of AGI and then just asking it to take the next step and build that next iteration. And, a lot of people are saying that like we're just a couple years away from that. So if I were them, all bets are off. I'm just going all in on that. Like, cool, robots and shit, those are fun. And even like Sam Altman, building this IO hardware product, that has me thinking that maybe there's some issue there, honestly, because he's just such a visionary, forward, and in many ways like autistically driven thinker towards this one LLM AGI thing. He's been talking about it for the better part of the last freaking 10, 15 years, right? That like when I see him do that, I'm like, is there something that I'm not seeing here? Is there some issue here? But yeah, and from my perspective, from what I can see right now, text all the way, man. I wouldn't try creating any consumer products.
I think that's interesting, dude. I think you need a play to capture data in 3 dimensions. Like, there's some philosophy around you'll get a quantum leap in intelligence when you can input 3D data. Like, imagine if you only trained a child on text. Like, there's a causality understanding of seeing flowers fall down when they don't get watered and throwing a ball and hitting sound. There's, the way we learn is almost like experiential, and giving it like video and audio and all these things, which is why Elon's plays quite. I mean, this is the thing that if I think about strategy, what can you learn from Elon? Is like he kind of like you'd never actually have to map out the specifics. You just need to kind of be directionally correct. So, dude, I think that's interesting, right? Is like the technology of going there, but like the speed of development is increasing a little bit. There's been some rumblings on agentic AI in browsers, and what's really interesting to me, dude, I've seen a shift. I think I'd be interested if you've experienced this just like as a general user of social media, of like bigger voices talking about AI. I think maybe sometimes without all the context and understanding of maybe what it means. And I'm hearing comments like, oh, AI agents are going to run your business for you, and I've got agents deployed all throughout my business, and I'm like, I'm not sure you have. I'm not sure that's true, because no one I know, like I do this all day every day, and they're not, right? So it's like, so we almost have this like level of misunderstanding with people who are kind of, I'd say like, maybe they're kind of technological and they're not very AI aware, but they're just hearing these things like AI agents running businesses. And there's just a level of unawareness I'm seeing now because of like maybe some large influencers who are saying things without maybe the full context.
Yeah, 100%. I feel the exact same way. But I think this happens any time that there's like an obviously massive opportunity. you have early movers that deeply understand it and that actually use it, and then you have a bunch of add-on hacks that just dive in because they see easy money to be made, and then they start like hyping up technologies which aren't always there. I think we've seen this literally in like every major technological shift over the course of the last 50 years, just historically. And then all of a sudden, it's almost like there's like now this disappointment bubble where it's like, oh, AI can't actually do all that stuff. So we saw that with the AI agents, right? Everybody went from like basically being like, oh yeah, there's no such thing as an AI agent, to AI agents run my entire life and wipe my ass. And it's like, no, they don't. They do not run your entire
I
life.
saw a video that was like, these 13 AI agents run my life, and now I'm on a beach. And we're like, do they? I don't think they do. Like,
You're on a beach?
Like,
Are they working tirelessly in the background for you, buddy?
they're just working for you in the background. Like, it's actually really funny. Like, but it's like, it's funny when you know about it and then you see different levels of understanding about it play out and stuff. There's this but the general business is, I mean, I always knew the opportunity was significant for supporting businesses, but like there's also like okay, have you seen the movie where like the financial crash bro? I've forgotten the name of it now. It's got
Oh,
like
The Big
Ryan
Short,
Reynolds.
2008.
The Big Short. Okay, in that movie, I don't know how historically accurate this is, right? But essentially, at some point, they say, okay, maybe we're over next. I don't know. Let's go find out. And they start turning up to doors, and I'm like, hey, who's this? Like, oh, dude, well, I don't have a job, and they just gave me the money. And they're like, oh, that's interesting. And they just anecdotally like go around neighborhoods and say like, hey, what's going on here? I don't know. And they're like, okay, this is like a Jenga tower about to fall down. Like, by that token, like seeing like businesses in the local landscape, speaking to people that are going to like local events, and like really getting into it, like the level of unawareness about AI and it's what it can actually do for a business is way lower than you think, like drastically lower. And we suffer from this, like, it's not an echo chamber, but like it's the bubble. Like if you're in communities like yours and mine, you are at the bleeding edge of it. Like this is just the latest stuff, right? That's working, and you're surrounded, and it's easy to think it's everywhere. It really isn't. Like, I can't stress enough like how much it isn't there. Like most people aren't spelling the word ChatGPT right now. It's wild to me, man.
Agreed. I understand why. I interface with this stuff all day. I talk to it all day. I work with it all day. The average person is just so, especially the average business owner, our target market, they're just so locked into what they're doing and what they've been doing for the last 10 years that they just don't have the time or the wherewithal. We all have a million and one things going on, right? So most people have no idea how to even communicate with one of these models. And what I'm really interested about is that you and I get to tackle the beginner segment of the market. And there are a lot of people that are in both of our groups that have just started with this, that are basically like the business owners we're talking about right now. Just fast forward 6 months or so, where they're just starting to understand the technologies and whatnot. And the knowledge gap in some beginners is just unreal. And I'm thinking, wow, this is a pretty privileged subset of the market too. So this is what people that are like just starting to interface with this stuff believe and think and know about AI. Like what's that giant iceberg half underneath? What's that 98% talking and thinking about? And how best can we help them, implement technologies like this to accelerate the transition to a more efficient economy?
I think this underscores the importance of strategy, like specifically strategic voice that can blend together, like knowing what AI can do and knowing like a business. And it's my experience that people who have some kind of business experience beforehand take way better to AI automation agencies. That was kind of like, if I thought about why can some people do it in 5 days and some people need like a little bit more support, it's because they get the commercial thing. Ultimately, you must blend the two together, right, if you're going to be successful. And I think, bro, for the kind of organizations that you and I might work with, actually, like, being able to explain, like, because unless you've ever ran, like, a P&L, you've ever had to make payroll, you don't know what that feels like. Knowing what that feels like as a business owner gives you so much more context. Working for different companies gives you context. And, like, that's why I think, like, AI strategic advice, and I'm not on about through your big four where some intern basically is being shoved on Nescafe and has Googled it ruthlessly before joins a meeting. Like someone who actually understands it is really important, and that's like really underserved. It's not even the real value. Like I think when you know how to build automations, it's not when it becomes commoditized because it still looks like magic. Like people were still selling how to build websites 20 years after website builders came out, right? And there were multi-million-dollar companies being built on simplifying the construction of websites. The real value is the website delivering the conversion, right? Like that's ultimately its function. So I think the true treasure trove actually is the consultancy and the information, knowing what to attack and which order, because that will actually save you more money. Like, not that you can pay anyone to do automations, but none of it works unless you know what you're doing and what you're tackling in which order.
Agreed. There are a million and one things that you could build, but having some sort of business context is the clarifying function that shows you the 5 things that actually matter to your bottom line.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah, and a lot of people don't get that, but it's also I think a large company scale. I mean, like the corporate, I don't want to say corporate deadwood, but lots of companies tend to accumulate in-house experts. Like, I heard someone say recently that, like, B players are really bad because B players hire C players.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, that's interesting, actually. I didn't think of it in that perspective. But they do. And there's actually a load of organizational theory that, like, you are never going to hire one person, ever. Because it's not in your best incentive to do so. Because if you hire somebody and they're doing all the work, you're managing them, the question becomes, well, what the hell's Nick doing, right? Because like it's very like Nick's employee that's doing all the work. So that means they always hire 2 people instead, and and it's just really interesting. So like, yeah, I think those connections with the larger companies is like, yeah, it's just really interesting. I mean, like one company I would love to work with, and I think it'd be fun to look at is like the UFC, like how they're doing AI with all their like, because I freaking love MMA, dude. So like,
Yeah.
I think that'd be really fun to do, dude. Like as like a passion project, like like rock
I'm
that
seeing you
world.
crush the bags, man. So how long have you been doing this stuff for?
8 years.
8 years now, huh? Oof, I would not want
Yeah.
to get in a ring with you.
Well,
I
dude,
lasted like six. I don't even know. Probably like 6 months of like full-time training, I would say, 3-4 days a week. And then I just
did you
couldn't
know what,
walk.
man?
What?
That's awesome. Like that's like all you really need. Like if you just done it for like 6 months, dude, you'll be like way ahead of like 99% of the population, dude.
Yeah, dude, it massively upgraded my cardio. I could say that for sure.
Yeah.
At the
dude,
cost of my joints. But anyway, you've been doing that for 8 years? Oof.
how are you doing the workout thing at the moment, dude? Like with laptops and like working and
Well,
stuff. How are you fitting all that in?
I'll be honest. It's been slow going on that front. Yeah, definitely have not been prioritizing the health. It's something that I'm going to be getting to.
Dude, it's like not to enable like degeneracy, but like it. Sometimes there are just conflicts where it's like, dude, like this just has to get done, and like it just you get those kind of like conflicts sometimes, don't you, between like that stuff. Like it's just really easily done.
Yeah, and I think it's about like why you work out and why you do things like that too. Some people need consistent physical fitness in order to feel and and I think we all do to some degree function at their best. But a big chunk of why I work out is just because I like the shape of my biceps when they do that little
Yeah, the bam, yeah, that's it.
100%, right? So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so when you get like that's the funny thing about cutting, like cutting weight. Like I cut, like I've just finished a bulk. I'm on a cut now. It's like when you complete the cut, it's like you're never lean enough. Like, and then you look back and you're like, dude, I was so freaking lean, dude. It's outrageous. It's like there's a joke. You're never as big as you are the day you start going to the gym.
that was a Dom Mazzetti one. Yeah, the day you start lifting is the day you're forever small.
Dude, 100%. But it's like you gotta work out, man. Like it's like it's just like it's a tough one, isn't it? You gotta get like in the like gotta habitualize it. So cool. Because I see it a lot. Like it's one of those easy slippages that doesn't like materialize as an issue until like it's like a big issue. Do you know what I mean?
Same thing that I feel about lead generation, just while we're on the topic about these lags, right? Like, I always try and frame everything in business like going to the gym, where there's a certain amount of accountability you need, and you just showing up when you're supposed to show up is like the 80-20. But, I mean, think about you like stopping lead gen or something. Like, if you stop lead gen today, it's not like all your opportunities drop tomorrow. It's like, no, you start seeing the impact of that like over the course of the next couple of weeks and months. If you stop working out today, like you look fine the next day and the next day and the next day. But, 3 weeks, a month, 2 months, then you start feeling shittier. You start screwing with your body type and whatnot. So I think the two very similarly, and it's interesting that you bring that up because it was just a point that I was making to somebody previously on another call.
Yeah, that's actually true, dude. It's also like I get very like I think like sometimes you can be very head down on focused on generating content that you Sometimes you've got to take a step back and be strategic sometimes, and you can actually like. I think most people bias towards not doing enough. There is an end of the scale where you're doing so much, you start to compromise your ability to think strategically unless you actually buy that stuff in. So you have to do. It's like almost you need a day where you're sharpening the axe, basically. Because dude, you've been keeping up like an insane schedule, dude. Because you were doing like daily updates. Like, have you found balancing that, dude? Because that's like a lot of content gen. I mean, it's obviously an amazing thing to invest in. Have you found keeping it up daily, bro?
I mean, the growth has been incredible, but the growth has definitely been at the cost of my time and sanity. And, you know, we just talked about balance in life, right? So, yeah, I noticed that, just for context, I was publishing daily for something like 50 or 60 days, and it worked extraordinarily well, and I grew very fast. But I looked at the metrics, and the metrics over the course of the last like month paint a very clear and definitive story, which is that the number of views that I get in the first 24 hours as a function of my subscriber count is just like slowly tanking. And I believe it's just because of audience fatigue. You can only post that much. So in terms of how I've found it, it's been great. I've actually really enjoyed having like the daily accountability. I've sacrificed some things and I've gone a little bit haywire here or there, but like it is nice to pump out more content than most people do in a year in like a month and a half. But then I'm just realizing it's a little less effective. So talk about sharpening the axe. It's basically what I've been doing over the last 4.5 days. I've just like taken a step back and I've tried to consciously evaluate, okay, like why was what I was doing working? What levers was I pressing on those viral videos, the ones that like, you know, crushed it? How can I rebuild a content strategy that's more sustainable that also doesn't burn out my audience, which I think is, you know, ultimately what I'm doing this for, the people that watch, right? I don't want to overwhelm them. Most people are subscribed to like 5 YouTube channels. They're subscribed to like yours. They're subscribed to mine. They're subscribed to a bunch of other people's. If every one of us are posting every day, I mean, you know, how the hell is anybody supposed to get any work done, right? So
Yeah,
I'm trying to find that good balance, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and it's like it's also you never solve it. Like it's like all the guys at Crusher are like this with data. They are back to back with data. When you speak to their processes, they're super scientific about it. If you lose the ability to think strategically, you will just gradually coast down. That's just it. So, dude, I think that's really fresh. I've been doing a lot of strategic thinking myself past couple of days. And actually, my Sunday, I've said that nothing's happening on Sunday apart from this whiteboard, some coffees, and I've got some like questions to ask. So it's cool, dude. But it's exciting. It's almost like you've got to make speculative investments sometimes, because if you want to innovate, by definition, you must do something that no one's ever done before. So you're not going to have a path to follow because you are creating the path. So it's almost like you need to have, I won't say courage, but you must like. There's a tried and trusted stuff, but there's also like, dude, you got to go out on a limb and be like, trust your gut and just make it happen.
Mm-hmm. It's the R&D fund for your life. You have to invest in things that don't deliver an immediate and very clear payoff, because who knows, once out of 50 of those things will. And that's what, you know, ends up defining you as a business.
Yeah, and it's like, and this is like a good thought to like wrap, because like Reid Hoffman found on LinkedIn. He said, "What would you do here to start going from zero?" He said, "Well, I don't make anything less than 10-year plays." And I was like, he's right. He's absolutely right. And actually, if you're making a 10-year play, like I don't care how year 1 and year 2 do. I want to be Apple in year 10. Actually, how does that change the way you frame your strategy? Because you're not really playing to win in the current market. You're playing to be X in 10 years' time. And I was like, that is the winning mentality, I think.
In 10 years' time, when you are building Jack Roberts' new AI SaaS campus somewhere to rival Google and whatnot, this is going to be a very interesting podcast to look back on.
Dude, yeah, well, Project 2030, we've documented the conversation so we can come back and hold account and stuff. Bro, really beautiful conversation as always, dude. I will have these braces for two more weeks. I know I'm pipping and popping. But dude, look forward to double clicking on some of the strategy stuff with you next week then, my man.
Let's do it, man. Thank you very much for having me, as per usual. Looking forward to chatting with you next week.